Hello and welcome to all. I'm Ryan Henson, your host for the first edition of the Dreamcatcher series with an Achievable Dream. I'm a corporate attorney at Williams Mullen and a volunteer with an Achievable Dream, which is a nationally recognized K-12 program dedicated to the belief that all children can learn and succeed regardless of their socioeconomic background. Today, I'm pleased to introduce Anthony Vittone, an accomplished lawyer and business executive who currently serves as the Executive Vice President and Chief Operations Officer of DroneUp. DroneUp is a drone services company located right here in 757. Anthony oversees DroneUp's business and operations and finance, legal, human resources, and pilot operations. Prior to joining DroneUp, he was an executive at Swimways Corporation, where he oversaw product development, product integrity, HR, finance, IT, and the company's operations in China. Anthony holds his undergraduate and law degrees from the University of Richmond and a master's in business administration from the College of William and Mary. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks, Ryan. Pleased to be here. Achievable Dream is a terrific organization, and I'm happy to help out any way I can.
Great. Well, we're happy to have you, and let's go ahead and get started. So, what are drones, and why are they important?
I guess the proper name for drones is unmanned aerial vehicles, and these are essentially airplanes and helicopters that go into the air and are controlled by a person on the ground. That the person isn't actually in the vehicle itself, and they're terrific devices because they can go lots of different places. They can maintain their speed. They can maintain their position in the sky. They can capture a lot of data for companies, for commercial, for governments. They can do lots of different things for organizations in ways that are cheaper, easier, less risky for lots of different folks. So they're really transforming the commercial marketplace for in a lot of different industries.
Well, what subjects or classes did you need to take to prepare yourself for a job in this industry?
Well, I'm as you know, Ryan, I'm more on the operations side. So, in terms of drones themselves, I actually learned on the job. So I started my career as a lawyer, and then started as an intellectual property lawyer, actually, and then at Swimways moved over more onto the business side. So, what I was hired for, DroneUp, is really to help on the business side for the normal types of things that almost every company needs in terms of finance and operations and HR and legal and then, but the pilot operations also works into my organization as well. And those are the groups that go off and deploy all of the different pilots and accomplish different missions.
Well, that's awesome. Well, it sounds like there's a ton of different applications for drones. So what does the future look like in terms of the drone industry? I know you talked a little bit about why they're important, but where are we today, and kind of what does the future look like in the drone world?
Yeah, the drone industry is really just sort of beginning and catching hold, and I think it's really an exciting time in the industry because there's lots of different commercial groups that are exploring how to utilize drones in their operations. And I'll touch on a couple of them. The oil and gas industry is trying to figure out how to utilize drones to do oil inspections and do inspections of their pipelines in a way, rather than having people go and do those, they can use drones to do it. If you think of like a bridge inspection, infrastructure inspections, if you think of a bridge, a lot of times they're using it with binoculars, or they're suspending men underneath the bridge to take a look at it. Well, I can put a drone up there and take a look at it a heck of a lot easier, and everybody stays safely on the ground. I think one of the more exciting things that's coming about that everybody is sort of waiting for is really the era of George Jetson here, and which is delivery. You're getting your products lots of different ways right now from Amazon and UPS and Walmart and different organizations and retailers. And you buy goods, but it's pretty much all land-based, and it's all being delivered by people.
Sure.
Eventually, we're going to get to the place, and we're starting to dip our toes into that right now, where you order something from a retailer, and it's going to be delivered to your front door, and it's going to be brought there by drone.
Wow, it's very cool. Thought Amazon was
Pretty
fast,
exciting
but
time.
I'm sure once we get drones in there, it's going to be even faster. So that's really neat.
It will be. It's really trying to accelerate that last mile of delivery,
Yeah.
and because we're all impatient. So
I hear
we
you.
all want what we want when we want it.
That's right. That's right. So what do you think that employers would look for if someone wanted to be in the drone industry? I mean, what kind of background do you need? Is there special education or training? I know there's a lot of different roles you can play in the drone industry, but I guess what are your recommendations?
So there's sort of entry level stuff, and then there's more advanced level stuff. So from an outset, the FAA, which governs drone usage, has a licensing procedure where it's called a remote pilot license that an individual has to get. Now, if you're just flying recreationally, you're just doing it for fun, then you don't need what's called a Part 107 remote pilot license. You don't need it. But if you're going to take money for it, and if you want to like make this a career, then you have to have what's called a Part 107 remote pilot license. And there's different educational programs, usually online and some in person, that somebody could take. And then there's a test that you have to sit for. It takes a couple of hours at a testing center, and you take that test, and then you find out immediately whether or not you passed.
Okay.
But there's even more, lots of universities now. Liberty University has a program, Purdue University. There's a college down in the South called Embry-Riddle that have different programs dedicated more in depth on UAVs and drones and how to utilize them, what they can do, flying them, really getting the refining people's expertise in it. And I would, if somebody who's really encouraged and really interested in working with drones should really look at one of those programs.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't realize that they had specialized programs for that. And
Yeah.
so you spoke a little bit about licensing. So what if you're just recreationally wanting to fly a drone? Is that something that you've got to register your drone with the government? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, you do have to register. You have to once you get your drone, you do have to register it with them so that they know whose drone it is and who owns it, and whether or not they're licensed or not licensed and all that. But you don't have to get the license, the remote pilot license. But you still have to be aware of all the FAA regulations, and the requirements of, flying near secured assets like airports and military bases, or not flying too high and not flying at night unless you're specifically licensed for that. So it doesn't alleviate you from knowing the rules and the regulations and obeying the law. It just means that you don't have to go through the whole formal licensing procedure.
So tell me about how you got into this industry. I know you said you worked at Swimways originally and have now moved over to DroneUp. So tell me a little bit how you got involved in this industry.
Yeah, so it was kind of coincidental. I had been in the consumer products business for, I don't know, 15 years or so, and actually making pool toys. So, the way these things work, sometimes our company got sold, and I worked with the acquiring company for a couple of years, but then decided it was time to find something else. So I had never worked with a startup before, and a gentleman that I know and respect very well, Ryan, him, Tom Franz, suggested that maybe I'd be interested in talking to this company and talking to DroneUp. And he connected me with the founder, Tom Walker, and we hit it off. And that was 3 years ago, and now things are going great.
That's awesome. What challenges have you had to overcome to obtain this position?
I guess a lot of the challenges that lots of folks, sort of run into, and even in different positions in different industries. It's just the normal ebb and flow of business, of building a business, getting clients for it, getting people, making sure the customers are happy, delivering all of that. The government regulation, obviously, in this industry is key, and it's evolving. The FAA is, really because drones are at the beginning of their life cycle, so are the regulations that govern them. so they're trying to catch up with that, and we're trying to work with them on developing those as well. And the other challenge that we run into quite a bit is really just finding people and finding enough pilots and enough people that want to work in this industry and want to work in this area.
Awesome. Well, just a few more burning questions for me. Are there different types of drones? I know you had mentioned, I think everybody sort of thinks, well, it's something that flies in the air, and it, like you said, you could take pictures of something that's, suspended, for example. But are there other types of drones? I mean, what kind of classes are you seeing of drones?
Yeah, there's all kinds of different sizes and there are things called a hex drone, things called a quad drone, which just depends on how many different propellers they have. There are ones that fly more like an airplane. The hex and the quad drones fly more like helicopters. There's different, what capacities they have to hold payloads, whether they even hold payloads or not. Sometimes they just have a camera. Sometimes they have different sensor equipment attached to them. How far they can go, how big they are. I mean, the military has a whole line of different ones that obviously they use. Sometimes commercial industries need them really small, and sometimes they need them, bigger. There are drones that have cages all around them so that when they bump into things, they don't crash, more like for using on pipelines and things. So there's a lot of variability in it, and the technology is developing every day. I mean, it's as the industry develops and as we find more and more uses for it, the technology is working to catch up to it.
So in terms of battery life, I mean, are you seeing sort of a huge span of battery power, and are there different, I guess, opportunities there even to sort of get into a specialized role where you're kind of focused on the energy side of the drones?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole sort of line of research and development going on right now to work on basically how long that drone can stay in the air.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are, almost all of them right now are battery powered, but batteries have a finite time of how long they can last. I mean, the average drone right now lasts around 30 to 40 minutes in the air. But there's technology that's developing to sort of take that even further. There are some that, even with battery power, have managed to extend their life to about an hour. But eventually what we want to do, and what the industry wants to do, and everybody wants to really expand the opportunities, is to have that drone stay up there even longer. And that comes with, maybe come from different fuel sources, maybe gasoline, hydrogen, all kinds of there's different fuel options that could come into play there, but they're working on developing those.
Very cool. So do you have your own drone?
I do.
Oh, cool. Where's the coolest place you've ever flown
it? Well, I mean, the one I have is here in Virginia Beach, and I've, it's not going to sound very interesting, but I mean, I just flown it all up and down the river, Lynnhaven River, and over in beaches and down at Nags Head and places like that. But I've flown some company drones in like places like Vegas and some other places for work for some clients, and that's always been a lot of fun. It's always been a lot of fun. So you should get one. Do you have one, Ryan?
I don't have one yet, but it's certainly on the list. So if you know of anybody that's selling them,
you should go get one.
Yeah. Well, great. What an interesting topic, industry, and you've been a great speaker. We really appreciate your time and just coming out and talking to us so that we could learn a little bit more about what you do in the drone industry in general. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. And thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.